You know that feeling when you're in a situation that just feels like a long, dark night? One that seems like it's never, ever going to end? Well, today we're diving into this incredible concept of a new dawn, a sudden, dramatic turnaround that can happen after even the longest periods of hardship. Let's see what that really looks like.
And this right here, this ancient verse, is the promise that really frames our whole discussion. It's this powerful idea that even the most intense sorrow has an expiration date. The joy is coming, literally, in the morning. And that promise is the foundation for everything we're about to unpack.
So, for centuries, we've used night as this metaphor for despair, right? And morning for hope and relief. But what happens when that's not just a metaphor? What if a literal night of weeping gives way to a morning of absolute, unbelievable joy? Well, our source text gives us an incredibly powerful case study of exactly that.
To really appreciate the gift of a new dawn, you have to understand the darkness of the night that came before it. So we're going to look at the story of the Israelites in Egypt. And this wasn't just a bad week or a tough year. We're talking about a night that, according to our source, went on for over 4 centuries.
And what's so wild about this story is that it's a complete 180. See, the Israelites weren't always slaves. The source text points out that they started out as honored guests, enjoying the best Egypt had to offer. But then a new king comes to power, and boom, their entire world gets turned upside down. Day became night, and their joy turned into deep sorrow.
And this was so much more than just an inconvenience. The source describes their lives as totally unbearable. I mean, it got so bad there was a death sentence on all their newborn sons. It was, in every sense of the word, a time of profound darkness. A night that must have felt absolutely endless. And this wasn't a brief period of suffering. It lasted 430 years. 430 years. Just let that sink in. Generations were born and died as slaves. Can you even imagine the kind of hopelessness that must have taken root after centuries of that kind of oppression?
And then, just when it seemed like nothing could possibly change, the tide turns. Our source material describes how something that was impossible for 430 years suddenly became possible in a single night. We're about to see a shocking, sudden reversal.
This is the moment. This is the pivot point of the whole story. In the span of just a few hours, 4 centuries of bondage were completely broken. And this wasn't some gradual negotiation. Nope, this was an explosive, definitive end to that long, long night. So what was the catalyst? According to the source, it was a moment of profound judgment. A great cry went up through all of Egypt as at least one person died in every single household. This was a terrible but decisive event that just completely shattered the resolve of their oppressors. And get this, the very same Pharaoh who had refused over and over to let them go now commanded them to leave. The source says he actually called for them in the middle of the night and said, "Rise up, be gone." The Egyptians themselves were urgently telling the Israelites to leave in a hurry. And just like that, it was over. 430 years of oppression, broken in a single night. The long night of weeping had finally ended, and the morning was about to arrive with an incredible gift. So what did this new dawn actually look like? Well, it was a lot more than just being allowed to leave. The source breaks it down into several key parts that altogether created a total reversal of their situation. So let's analyze the anatomy of this turnaround. Here are the 4 key elements of their new dawn, as described in the source. First, there was judgment on their enemies, which is what broke the power holding them captive. Second, of course, was their sudden freedom. But these next 2 are where it gets really fascinating. Something called divine favor and a complete economic upgrade. This whole concept of divine favor is just extraordinary. The Israelites found favor with the very Egyptians who had hated them. They asked for jewels of silver and gold, and the Egyptians just gave them what they asked for, even though they knew they were leaving for good. This is described as a truly unusual, powerful kind of favor. And this quote really drives home the scale of that economic reversal. We're not talking about pocket change here. The source says they spoiled the Egyptians. It was a massive transfer of wealth, turning centuries of unpaid labor into a sudden, dramatic economic upgrade on their way out the door. So let's bring this all together. What's the ultimate takeaway from this story of a 430-year night, followed by such a spectacular dawn? Well, it really connects to that powerful idea of receiving beauty for ashes.
A new dawn, as we see it here, isn't just a small improvement. It's a complete and total reversal of fortune. It's freedom, it's justice, it's favor, and it's economic restoration all rolled into one. It's the transformation of unbearable sorrow into overwhelming joy. And that leaves us with a final thought. This ancient story speaks to such a timeless human experience. It forces us to ask ourselves, when our own nights seem endless, what does it really mean to hold on to the promise of morning? And what might that dawn actually look like when it finally breaks?